CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Well, no evidence of biological weapons has turned up in Iraq, but it is showing up in Maryland, along with toxic chemicals at a former military dump. Gene Meserve reports a massive cleanup is underway.
Dredged up from the dirt, a crushed and corroded drum. Potentially so dangerous, workers wear protective suits. A tent covers the site, and the surrounding ground is frozen to prevent the spread of contaminants. What have they found here? 113 vials, some containing live bacteria, including a cousin of the microbe that causes plague and a non-disease causing strain of anthrax used in vaccines.
Typically on something like that, they would be dead, and I was surprised to hear that they were alive. It just shows you how viable and how long-lived some things can be, given protective conditions.
Testing indicates none of the pathogens have survived in the soil. How did the vials get there? In the 50s and 60s, the U.S. developed and tested its arsenal of biological weapons right here at Fort Detrick. This was a waste dump, but until recently, no one knew the full scope of what had been put here.
The practice of the days in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was to find a place to dig a trench, put your chemicals and things, put your trash in a trench and cover it up.
Chemicals are here, like the cleaning solvents perchloroethylene and tetrachloroethylene, which have contaminated the soil and groundwater as containers have deteriorated.
And when they get into the groundwater, PCE is a carcinogen, and TCE can cause liver damage, kidney damage.
In 1991, the chemicals showed up in the wells of some nearby homes in concentrations well in excess of EPA limits.
When we found out that it was going off the base, we put anybody who was drinking water out of their wells on their own property on bottled water.
The cleanup began 10 years after the groundwater contamination showed up. But by and large, the community has been pleased by the Army's responsiveness.
It's been positive. Slow and agonizing, but positive.
And it's not over yet. The cleanup won't be done until next spring. The final price tag, $27 million. Frederica?
Now, Gene, why did it take so long to get this cleanup started in the first place?
Well, when they figured out they had a problem with the chemicals, first they had to get a sense of the dimensions of the problems. The records were not very well kept. They went back and they talked to former employees. They took aerial photographs of the site. They even did electromagnetic surveys to try and figure out exactly where those chemical drums were. They established a protocol. Then they had to go through the process of getting funding to do this. And then when they finally started digging, they found the biological agents, and then they had 2 sets of safety protocols that they had to deal with. So it has been a very time-consuming sort of effort.
Lots of layers. All right, thanks very much, Gene Meserve from Washington. Well, coming up in our next half hour, wildfires aren't the biggest threat facing the nation's forests. We'll hear some heated and conflicting opinions about what helps forests and what hurts them. Also, one country's plan for controlling problem bears with pepper and paint. First, a quick break and a check of the latest headlines.